Yes. Hi, this is Bob Gums, and this is the Concerned Forum. And I tell you, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Gee, I wish that that was for real. I'm not in a very good mood today, and I'm starting to wonder if I'll ever be in a good mood again. I am just, so sick of the crap that I see in this country day after day. And I'm just wondering, when are people who know better, okay, who have sanity, when are they going to stop putting up with this bullshit? All right. I wanted to make my second career in media. You know, I tell you quite frankly, I don't know if that's going to work out because I'm not one of these people that can get a chance to have a TV show and then just sit up there and say nothing and, be so pure in my language. Because, quite frankly, the way I see things now, every decent, God fearing American should be out in the street cursing up a blue storm and demanding that a third of the people in Congress be thrown out. You know, I understand that one of our former presidents was almost assassinated. I'm talking, of course, about Barack Obama. Now, this clown, and that's what he is, okay? I mean, come on, he has all those weapons, explosives, what have you, basically down the block from the Obama house. Well, what's this all about? You know? I think what needs to be said, because, we have to stop, what's the proper term? This pampering the language. All right, that's not, and if you study American history, that's not an American trait. I don't know where we got this idea from to be delicate on issues that are definitely important to the life of this republic. This guy is a Trump supporter. All right, they found that out. They know that, and I guess Trump, with his bullhorn that we have given him, he tells his people, "Hey, let's go out there and kill some of these Democrats," and that's what this damn fool was out there to do. I mean, what did you think that he was walking down the street to go to the Obama house to give him a cake? I don't think so. That's the first thing. The second thing, I am ashamed of us as a nation. Now, former President Trump tried to overthrow our government. And we treat this clown like a China doll. And by clown, I definitely mean clown. And one of the things that really irritate me about this whole situation, these people out there at what they call the heartland, they're so much in love with Donald Trump. They don't know a damn thing about the guy. Do they know that Trump would not have their type of American in his bathroom, let alone at his dinner table? And this has been quoted by him innumerable times. He thinks the American people are suckers. And you know what? A good amount of you are exactly that, suckers. But I'll tell you something. This country is at a precipice. And America has to make up its mind. Either you want white nationalism and fascism, or you want us to be a democratic republic. But you can't have it both ways. When you have a baby, okay, and a few years down the road after your child is born, you can't say, oh, well, I don't like the way things are turning out or have turned out. So you know what? I'm going to take this kid and I'm going to shove it right back where he came from, right back into his mother's womb. Does that make sense? Well, essentially, that's what these Trump people, these MAGA people, these QAnon people, whatever the hell you want to call them, that's essentially what these people want. They want to turn time back. We're not going to have 1950 again. Even if somebody would invent a time machine so that you could go back and try and manipulate the future or the present, it wouldn't make any difference because things would still be different. Okay? You can't go backwards. This is not 1940, 48, 49. Or what I should say, this is not 1955. We're not going back. The nations of the world are not going to go back. And as confusing and sad as Africa and parts of Asia and Latin America might seem to us today, I can assure you they're not going to go backwards. Okay? America is not going to be able to march into Latin America. Britain and France are not going to be able to do all the things that they used to do in the 19th century. That's just the clock. Things go forward. All right? And when things are not going forward, then you have real problems. That's called retarded or retardation. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that we have here in America. You actually have people that think that we can go back to Gone with the Wind. Now, I will tell you myself, as a native-born African-American or a man of African descent, well, how should I put that? As a man of African, European, and indigenous American descent, I will not go back to the way my parents lived or the way my grandparents lived and those who came before them. See, that ain't going to happen. So either we are going to work to build this country, or we are going to work to destroy it. Now, me, myself, I am definitely on the side of building, not destruction. But it appears to me that especially one particular party in particular, political party in particular, the Republican Party, they seem intent upon putting women in cages and black people basically, they give the impression that they want black folks to disappear. And I don't believe that neither one of those things are going to happen. We'll put it this way. If they happen, it will be at a tremendous cost of blood. And I don't want to see that. This country's already had a civil war. We don't need another one. But I am so sick and tired of this constant carping, you know. And I find things so strange, you know. I'm sorry to be dumping all this on you folks at once, but I'm telling you, man, I'm truly fed up. I cannot believe that our country, you have people in America that are this damn dumb. I'm sorry. Listen, affirmative action. Let me hop on this right quick to get it out, deal with it and get it out of the way. Okay? As far as what the Supreme Court did, I mean, who cares to a large extent? What do I mean by that? Well, listen, for the most part, the Supreme Court is practically useless. All right? I know a lot of political people do not like to hear me say that, but I think the facts speak for themselves. When you have a situation where you have your Supreme Court judges, supposedly the most important most important part of the judicial branch in this country, and you got a bunch of the judges taking millions of gifts, gratuities. One guy is taking care of a judge's mom, living in his crib, on his property, rent-free. Why in the name of God is our Congress not demanding? This is the type of thing that you blow the whistle and say, boop, boop, time out. Okay? We have a problem here. We have judges, people who sit and rule upon our laws, and they are corrupt. It's just that simple. And I tell you, I'm very happy to see the Justice Department going after Trump for his crimes. But my question is, what took you so long? What the hell took you so long? Because some of this stuff, I understand that you have to go and methodically, piece by piece. I understand the process of law. At one time, I wanted to be a lawyer. But unfortunately, morality got the better of me. Okay? But being methodical, it can be a good thing. And to a point, it's the right thing to do. But does being methodical have to, I don't know, cause our democratic form of government to suffer? A lot of the stuff that Trump is going on trial for, we saw it. We actually saw him, do these things, say these things. And at this late date, we're talking about the election next year. Why? This should have been done while he was on the way out the door in toward late 2020, early 2021. But it is what it is. But that's how I see it. And I think most American people, the majority of American people, see it that same way. Just like with the Supreme Court. We need to clean out that Supreme Court. What the hell are we waiting for? Because, see, that tells me, now I'm a kid out the projects in Harlem, okay? And what I see, and yeah, college degree, blah, blah, blah. Worked in the White House, worked in the Pentagon. Yeah. Big deal, okay? What I see is that if you are with a certain clique, okay, you could essentially shape the law or bend the law to your will. And that's not right. We got a place here in New York, Rikers Island. Our Supreme Court, I'm not saying every justice, but you got about 4 of them. I don't see the big difference between them and one of those kids out in Rikers Island, quite frankly. Like my old man used to say, good Republican that he was. right is right and wrong is wrong. And if you can't apply the law equally to everyone, then it doesn't mean a damn thing. And I think that's the problem that people feel in this country today. We see this guy Clarence Thomas. Well, Clarence Thomas is a buffoon. Okay, he's a buffoon. Somewhere along the line, there has been, racism is responsible for a lot of the problems in this country, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. And one of those problems is that it caused a lot of internal problems within the black community. Okay? Some of us might not like to admit it, but that's human nature. All right? Just like when the Nazis were persecuting Jewish people. All right? It caused problems in the Jewish community. And injustice, right? It caused problems in the Italian community, in the Irish American community. Okay? Unfortunately, with the indigenous American community and the African American community, it has been truly devastating in terms of the self-hatred that it has created. And that's a large part of Clarence Thomas's problem. I mean, you got to be a damn fool not to be able to look at the things that he has said, and you could see it for yourself. I mean, who has gotten a bigger benefit out of affirmative action than Clarence Thomas? I rest my case on that one. But I would not be surprised to see Clarence Thomas leading a lynch mob, running through the streets of Washington, D.C., trying to hang black people from lampposts. I mean, that's how far off this guy is. And we need to start saying that. And we need to start asking, why in the hell are you going to have judges sitting up there who are basically on the take? Yeah, cops can't get away with the crap that these untrustworthy judges in the Supreme Court have been getting away with. So why should they be allowed to do that? And then have the nerve to sit around and criticize and make laws and take away people's rights. And I'm very, one of the things I'm very concerned about with the Democratic Party, because I'm a registered Democrat, and I'm an American, most importantly, I'm an American, and I'm just wondering where is our leadership? I think that basically there comes a point in time, as I mentioned earlier, it comes a point in time where you have to call a timeout and say, hey, man, look, we're going to suspend business here. Everything that's been going on, like, Social Security, the military, blah, 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 yeah, we're not going to, the things that have been going on, they're going to continue to go on. We're not going to block the government, but we're not going to do any damn thing else. We're not going to ignore our international treaties. We're not going to ignore Social Security. We're not going to ignore the military. The things that government does, just like the human body. Your body does things every day, 24/7. And it does that most of the time whether you're doing anything with it or not. Right? Those like automatic responses. So I'm not saying that we got to just end the government, but what I am saying is that we can call the time out in Congress and say, listen, we're not gonna put up with this crap anymore. You can't hang out with your billionaire friends and then sit up and make laws or take away laws that directly affect the people that you hang out with and do favors for you. And now it appears that the people that do favors for you, you're turning around and using our legal process to do favors for them. And that's just plain wrong. And hell, damn, even the founding fathers that Republicans seem to like to worship on the pedestal, I'm quite sure the founders would say the same thing. I just, I look and I wonder, and I say, when are the American people, and I'm not talking about those Trump people or those MAGA people, because a lot, and those, what do you call them, QAnon, quack people or whatever, I'm not talking about folks like that, because most of those folks are lost. But those of us who claim to be sane, who claim to be American, yeah, we need to get out there. And we need to start electing people who are not looking for a fight. Okay, we don't need that. You want to look for a fight? Go what is that? Cage boxing, all right? Cage kickboxing. I used to kickbox when I was in the Navy, right? Yeah, that's looking for a fight. I'm not saying that those are the kind of people that progressives, independents, Democrats, I'm not saying those are the kind of people that we need to elect. But we need to elect people who are not afraid to fight. From time to time, democracy, just like life, is tested. And you have to be able to stand up to that test. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get smacked down. But what it does mean is that you have to be able to stand back up after being smacked down. And that's what I want, being a non-MAGA, non-Republican person. That's what I want to see happen. And do I love everything that Joe Biden has done? No, I don't. I'll be quite frank about it. I don't. Now, I think that Joe Biden is a decent man. I think he's one of the most decent men that we've had in the White House, and a real nice guy. I mean, I've spoken. I spoke with the guy a few times, right? Even caught the train with him. But I think that in his heart, I think Joe Biden is still looking at the calendar like it's 1981 or even 1978, and it just ain't like that. And it's hard for people. It's not just because he's, 80, right? I mean, see, that's another thing. Why do we give a hard time to people because they're not dead? That's the crazy thing about this country. I forget, how old was Churchill by the time he finished in government? 90-something? So, look, if the guy is breathing and he is not, he's not collapsing every other 15 minutes, I mean, who the hell cares? Quite frankly. It's what's going on up in here. Now, I tell you what's funny. Trump is about 3 or 4 years younger than Biden. But if you were to look, looking at it from the point of, who can best behave themselves, who carries himself as a president, it ain't Donald Trump. I mean, the whole world says that. So what is it that bugs people? My personal opinion, I believe, is that, especially out there in the so-called heartland, they see Joe Biden. This is what they see. They see Jews. They see black folks. They see women, mostly pro-choice women. And I think that that's what the problem is, especially with him having the black female vice president. And see, one of the things that Americans, I think in this country that people have to understand here in America, we don't, how should I say this? We don't control. Well, no, that's not a proper term either. We have to live on this globe with the world that is predominantly, should I say, non-European. And this idea that you can just lock yourself up, lock yourself away and be isolationist, that's just dumb. It's just, historically, it's stupid, And I fear so much for the future of this country if Americans don't get their act together. All right, we can't. The world, our globe is not spinning backwards. Okay. The world goes forward. History goes forward. It's just like these people that are so afraid of having history taught. And you look and you say, who the hell are these people now? They want to close the libraries. They want to stop history from being taught. What the hell is this? I don't want to hear, what is it? We're going to stop talking about Washington crossing the Delaware? It is amazing. And see, what bugs me is that too many of us are letting these people get away with it. And I'm not purposely trying to be insulting. But I'm not going to, like too many people nowadays, I'm not going to smother truth because of the fact that I don't want to be offensive to anyone. No, we can't do that. We cannot do that. And then we got this guy, Kennedy. You know who he is. And I loved his father so much. I truly did. But I fear that he's making the mistake of allowing himself to be used by the Republican Party, by MAGA. And I tell you quite frankly, I have some big questions for Robert Kennedy Jr. I don't like these people that they say, oh, we don't want to see people get vaccinated. I think I spoke the other day about vaccination, how it was brought from Africa, and who was it, slave master who was a doctor, I think in the 1600s, sometime about that, early 1700s. and he learned from his slave how they fought, the was it the pox, smallpox, in their cattle. And Doc tried it out and said, "Hey, this actually works." They took it over by the time the revolution had started. They take it to General Washington. Washington says, "Yeah, okay. I remember, hearing about this. I think I've known people that have done this on their plantations in Virginia. It seems to work pretty well." And when they were down in that cold, terrible winter in Valley Forge, what was that, 1776, I believe, 77? And Washington put out the order. Everyone's getting vaccinated. Saved a lot of lives. So I'm just wondering, now we question vaccination. I took the vaccination. I took my shots 3 times. It was fine. I did get the what do you call it? The virus, and I got a little sick, and that was it. I didn't die from it. And that's the main purpose of getting vaccinated. Not even to stop you from getting sick. The purpose of the vaccine is to stop you from dying. So in that regard, I guess unfortunately in some people's mind, it worked for me. So, this mania that he has about vaccination, to me, that's kind of scary, number one. Number two, we went through a bloodbath in 2020. Unarmed black men and women beaten, shot to death by law enforcement in certain areas of this country. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear nothing from Bobby Kennedy Jr. I didn't hear anything out of the Roman Catholic Church here in America, for that matter. This whole thing is, against Biden. It really bothers me, and it bothers me and it's strange because, hell, I'm not really a Biden person. I'm a Bernie person, okay? I'm a Bernie Sanders person. And when I was, first trying to start with this television thing, you could look at my shows and see, they're on YouTube, and you could see I'm big Bernie supporter. But I know that Joe Biden is basically a decent guy. And I know that he is not, he would not, if he got elected, that he would not give me nightmares. And he hasn't. So I get a little curious when I see these forces out there after Joe Biden's scalp. And see, we got a lot of things that we need to discuss. A lot more important than Joe Biden. God, and more important than Trump. But this whole thing about, we got to destroy the Bidens, it's taken our eye off of the things that we need to look at and discuss. Like this thing with Trump, right? I am so sick of seeing that clown's face. I am so sick of every news broadcast talking about Donald Trump. I'm sick of this guy. I was sick of him when I was growing up in New York with him. I became aware of Donald Trump. When did he get that big, him and his dad get slammed by the Justice Department for not wanting to rent to black and Puerto Rican nurses and doctors? 70, oh goodness, what the hell was that? 76, 77? Something like that. Okay? No, I'm wrong. It was earlier than that, about 70. It was going on. It happened before I went into service the first time. And I did that. I was 17. So, yeah. And not bumped into him, but I saw him, I think twice, at the disco. What was that? Fillmore East or Regine's? But yeah, Trump, that's been around New York for far too long, quite frankly. That's why I laugh at those folks out there in so-called middle America, because I'm saying Donald would not have you in his bathroom. And you would not put up with a boss like Donald Trump. Yet now you're running around like he is your savior. And see, that's one of the sick, terrible things about racism. Because it clouds up the brain cells. It prevents you from thinking clearly. See? It makes you act in ways that are not in your own best interest. Donald Trump says that working people, hard-working, God-fearing Americans, get paid too much, make too much money. Hear that, Iowa? Hear that, Alabama and Mississippi? Yeah. Donald says that you make too much money. But yet, he is your plastic God. See, that's what is so amazing about our politics over the last 10 years. And see, the only thing that can account for that, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but it's race. Okay? Yeah, those other folks, they're out to get you. They're out to replace you. Remember Charlottesville? Right? The Jews shall not replace us. Hey, baby, those were Trump Republican followers, okay? That night in 2017 in Charlotte, right? That night killed conservatism in America. Now, you might not want to accept that. You might not want to believe that. You might even be one of those sane Republicans who can't stand Donald Trump, but still consider yourself a good Republican and a conservative. I very few people who I respect more than what is his name, Morning Joe, and his lovely lady. But I'm telling you, Trump single-handedly has destroyed the Republican Party. He has destroyed the conservative movement. And God, I don't know, he is working night and day to destroy this country. Why do I say that? Because you cannot have, in America, you cannot have a conservative movement based upon race and still be seen as credible. See? And unfortunately, that's where we stand today. And I don't know if people see this or not. How can I replace you? I'm the guy with the dark skin. But I can't replace you. How can I replace you? How can I replace you when, in many cases, I was here before you? What did he do when he first started? He comes down the elevator, says, Mexico sends us nothing but thieves, murderers, rapists, drug dealers. Well, my goodness. You just defamed a whole ethnic group of people. And in our ignorance here in America, because we don't, for a lot of reasons, we are afraid of knowing our history, unless it's in the fairy book. Those people that you denigrate, that you want to build a wall to keep out, they were here before you. And you stole the land from them. See, that's another thing. Americans, they cannot seem to get it through their head. No, I shouldn't say that. A lot of Americans, especially if they happen to be Republican, they can't get, they don't understand. Or they refuse to understand. But in most cases, they don't understand. I'll be honest about it. They don't, because they don't know. Because they haven't been taught. Because people try to prevent them, like they had that thing in Arizona, trying to stop Latinos from learning about their history. They don't want you. They didn't want Anglo students to know about Latino history. But actually, it's not Latino history. It's the history of the American Southwest. It was always a big highway from Central America all the way up damn near to Washington State. Oregon, Washington State. It was like that for over at least 15,000 years. So nobody's replacing you. See, that's the thing about here in America. You got these institutions, Yale, Harvard, Brown, Stanford. You got the most greatest houses of learning in the world. And yet you have a lot of damn dumb people. And you have to wonder, hey man, was this done on purpose? And I'm really starting to believe, as I get older, I'm starting to realize, I guess maybe it was. How do you think Texas came into the Union? Because you had a bunch of poor, broke failures, in most cases, people that were trying to get a new start. They all went down to this Mexican territory called Texas. The Southerners liked it because of the fact, hey man, we can increase our slave territory. Eventually, Mexico, and that's why I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Mexico, because Mexico, their first president was a half-black guy. I think his mom was a slave, she was a slave, and Mexico did not allow slavery. I mean, these are historical facts. It's not me just popping left-wing BS. This is real. This is what happened. See, I'm a big person for history. No, I just got a bachelor's. I'm working on the master's in media, but I love history. And I think that it is something, I think it's a wonderful subject. And we have to stop people like DeSantis and Trump and these other, I call them phony conservatives, because that's what you basically have in America now. We have to stop these people from taking away our ability to know history. History should be taught from the time you're about as tall as this table. And the story of America, my God, you can live 100 lifetimes writing movies, doing movies about American history, because it's like life, right? It's a tragedy, and it's beautiful, and that's the exciting thing about America. This place that was built by the riffraff of Western Europe, stolen from indigenous people, worked and built originally by people kidnapped from another continent, and it rises to be the main torchbearer for freedom and democracy on the planet. I think that's one hell of a story. And some of them fools in Florida talk about, oh, well, it makes little white kids uncomfortable. What? A New York businessman decides to sacrifice his sons and himself to free black slaves in Virginia. White folks in New England and the Midwest and even in the South risk their lives and in cases give their lives. A lot of white people were killed, murdered, to help get black people to freedom. Yeah, Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. Yeah, these were black women, but these black women had help. They had help of white people that said, look, I'm living nice and comfortable here, but I can't continue to live like this, knowing that in my country, I have people here who are enslaved in what's supposed to be a land of freedom. And I will risk my life and die if necessary to fight this terrible thing that we have here called slavery. You mean to tell me that a little white kid hearing that going to feel ashamed? No bullshit. Stop bullshit. Stop trying to bullshit people. Shit, I can see a little white kid now walking around with his little chest all poked out. Yeah, my great so and so he died to help people escape from slavery. Don't hand me that crock. Look, a country, it's like life. You got good, you got bad, right? And see, the idea that you can just take that American flag and just, I don't know, it's like you want to take the flag and wrap it up or wrap our history up in a flag. No, when you do that, you're taking the flag and you are turning it into a shroud. And shrouds are for dead people. Okay? That's what you get wrapped in when it's time for you to say to the world, adios. That's not what a flag is. You know, there's at military funerals, right? They don't bury the damn flag. They take the flag off the coffin and they wrap it up and they give it to the next of kin. It's like kind of like passing the torch. And see, that's basically what these Santos people, these Trump people, these Republicans, that's what they want. They want to bury the flag. No. We've had a very rough history, but life is rough. But somehow this country has persevered. And my God, we have made so many mistakes. But who ain't? You know, who hasn't? Who hasn't made mistakes? Come on, that's how we learn. Shit, the thing with the Santos and people like you, oh man, this might sound immature on my part, but you know, you take the fun out of studying America. You really do. You take out the bone and the sinew. I mean, DeSantis, he's an ethnic. It's Italian, right? One grandmother ago, the governor of Louisiana said Italians, they're lower than Negroes. They're nothing but criminals. They shouldn't be allowed in the country. And to a large extent, they weren't. There were quotas put on people coming from Italy and other, Southern European countries. And look, now he's the governor of a state in the United States. That's something to be proud of. He should be proud of his heritage. See, I got a thing for Italians, and Irish and Italians, I'll be honest about it. I was mostly Catholic school educated. I went to public school until I was like in the third grade. Then I started going to St. Thomas the Apostle, Roman Catholic school, right here in 118th Street in Harlem. All right? And then after that, I went to the South Academy Catholic School, high school, for close to 3 years, and I dropped out, went to Seward Park for about 8 or 9 months, left, and decided to go in the military. But yeah, I guess that's the New Yorker in me. You know, I grew up with ethnics. I grew up in Harlem, and I grew up with ethnics. And you know, to me, I find their history so interesting. I studied a lot of Irish history because most of my teachers I had when I was at St. Thomas. Who did I have? I had 2 Italian teachers. I can't remember the other one, but I remember Brother Vincent Tanacora, and the rest of my teachers. I had a black lay teacher, 2 black lay teachers. No, I had a man and a woman lay teacher who were black. And the lady, she was a good looker too. But I'm studying because I'm stuttering here because I can't remember. Because at first, when I first started going to St. Thomas, we were all in one building, but you had girls' classes and boys' classes. And then when I got into the 7th grade, at the beginning of my 7th grade year there, they integrated it all, so it was boys and girls all together in the same classes. And I think I might have had her for 1 class. All right, but those, her and a black guy named Mr. Franklin, those were our two lay teachers. In other words, lay teachers, they didn't they didn't take holy orders. And then all the rest were Irish. The monks, the priests, the monks, and the nuns. And I'll never forget Brother Vincent, Sister Mary St. Raphael, and Brother John LeGrand, and the principal, Brother Kevin. And I learned a lot of Irish history. I did. I found it fascinating. And I think the idea that, these people came here, right? And they became a part of the American pageant. I think it was wonderful. I think it's wonderful. I really do. And the Italians, I got a lot of respect for the Italians. I'll tell you why. Because the Italians and the Jews are the ones that gave black entertainers the crossover, all right? In other words, it went from, black folks just dancing in a barnyard somewhere until you finally have blacks actually performing in front of whites and doing things besides doing that minstrel crap, all right? Yeah, some of it was a bit on the Sambo side, but I understand that in many cases, if the white guy putting on the show, if black folks were a little bit too independent in the way they performed, everybody could get hung and the place would get burned down. But again, by the same token, it was the Italians that fought the Ku Klux Klan at the turn of the last century. Because the Klans, these were, strict white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Ooh, almost that time. Strict Anglo-Saxon Protestants, and the little juke joints and whatnot, where you see people singing and drinking, along the road, the Klan didn't like that. But the Italians a lot of times say, hey, man, it's making some money, And, they're making their wine and everything like that. And so there was a natural coming together. And, the Italians would have, in many cases, they would have own the joint, right? And they would get the black, musicians, piano players, what have you. And the Klan would start, say, hey, we don't want blacks playing in these. And the Italians finally said, hey, buddy, screw you. And yeah, especially in Florida, South Florida especially, they had some knockdown, drag-out wars. And to a large extent, a lot of black folks that you see now in entertainment, right, making zillions, that's how it started. So yeah, I got a lot of respect for ethnic people. I most certainly do. But see, that's because I know history. See, and I think that's if America, if we really started teaching history in this country, it would be a lot better. And I think that we would all have a lot of respect for each other. And we wouldn't, and one thing that kind of I find disturbing, whenever I see a black or an ethnic person, Italian, Irish, Jewish, right, Hispanic, when I see one of these folks, well, I'm a conservative, no, I'm a Republican, I'm like, why? Because this Republican Party has nothing but contempt. Not only contempt for black people, but also for Hispanic people. And yeah, there's a large portion of Hispanics who also are black. But in America, we kind of go into culture, see? And I tell you, these folks who are into this whole Trump, DeSantis, um, QAnon, etc., right, MAGA, they have nothing but absolute contempt for people of color, for ethnics. Okay? They don't even like white women, quite frankly. I mean, if you liked and respected someone, how would you take away? Why would you take away their right to their health care as they saw fit? You know, there's a lot of reasons why women need, from time to time, they might need to have abortion. Okay, it is a medical procedure. And we should have never, as a nation, we should have never allowed the issue of abortion to become a political issue. We should have never allowed that. Never. I know my late wife, her mom had to have an abortion. And this was a woman that already had 2 kids. But see, that's one of the mistakes that we make in this country when we allow other people to do our thinking for us. Folks, time is running on here, and so must I. But like I say at the end of every broadcast, keep your head on the swivel, pay attention to what's going on. And don't let anybody do your thinking for you. Look it up. You got the time. Look it up. Find the truth out for yourself. You can do that. We have, you got books, you got videos. Well, I'm kind of leery about the videos, but do your own research, put it that way. Do your own research. And take care of yourselves. And take care of each other. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place, same channel. And this is the Conservative Forum with Bob Gums. Peace unto you. Bye.